Let's do some beast system here.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
Some overlap with Afrofuturism.
We're going to
colonize
Africa! Yeah!
This is biometricupdate.com, and the headline, NEC and partners reports early success with neonatal biometric vaccine management system. A mouthful there. A biometric
sounds exciting.
A biometric vaccination management program for newborn children has been jointly developed by NEC, the Kenya Medical Research Institute, and Japan's Nagasaki University, and the results of a trial are beginning to roll in. The partners say that early results from the clinical trial started last September at Kinango Sub-County Hospital in Kwale are highly encouraging. The trial runs until March 2023. A system provided by NEC combines fingerprint biometrics for children with voice recognition for caregivers to confirm their identities and manage vaccination histories and schedules. Infants' fingerprints are enrolled when they receive their first vaccination, including immediately after delivery. A novel authentication method is used based on matches of fingerprint data from multiple fingers. The newborn's thumb and 3 other fingers are enrolled and compared with a special biometric scanner, according to the announcement. They've got this little diagram here that's got the whole thing, a registration and whatnot, and the numbers and blah, blah, blah. The trial consists of 1,000 caregivers and newborns, 300 of whom were registered by the end of November 2022. The vaccination management system will be used to track the administration of 8 vaccines and 1 supplement up to 24 months after birth. Voice and fingerprint data will be deleted at the conclusion of the trial, the partners say. The partners plan to carry out tests of the biometric system with a network of multiple hospitals, and full-scale introduction across Kenya could be completed by the end of 2023. Yeah, the numbers don't match up. If they're 24 months after birth, they're going to track, but then they're going to delete all data after it's completed at the end of 2023. I don't know. I'm not that great at math, Basil, but it doesn't seem like it adds up. Quote, I expect this vaccination management system, including newborn fingerprint biometric technology, will expand the coverage of vaccination for children under 24 months old through accurate identification methods for mothers and children in Kenya. I also express great expectations for this research to act as a guideline for precise vaccination management featuring newborn and caregiver identification to become an important contributor to universal health coverage, end quote, says Professor Miriam Kamadi Ware, laureate of the first Hideo Noguchi Africa Prize. Oh, there's a lot going on there. The project is intended to support UN, that's the United Nations, SDG, that's Sustainable Development Goals 16.9, to provide legal identity and birth registration for all, as well as SDG 3.2 to end preventable deaths among newborns and children under 5 and reduce neonatal mortality. I ranted and raved about UN SDG 16.9 specifically for years, talking about the development of the biometric system, especially in Africa. And here we are. They're actually rolling out the tests. And it looks like so far so good for the folks doing all the testing. The partners have worked together on biometrics for neonatal health in Kenya since 2019. NEC also recently engaged with Sinolo as it works on commercializing infant biometrics in hospitals in the Americas. And the company has worked with Simprints and Gavi in sub-Saharan Africa.
Nice little
Bill Gates
gig there.
Yep. And so there you go. That's, I mean, straight up, this is like a Face Like the Sun video from 2014. But also, along with that, we have the Washington Post being mirrored on Yahoo News. Goodbye passport stamps. Hello biometrics. Customs is getting faster. Yeah. At the Cancun International Airport in Mexico, clearing passport control can take less time than ordering a frozen drink at the Margaritaville bar in Terminal 3. The Riviera Maya Airport, which received a record 30 million passengers last year, introduced electronic gates last fall. as part of a pilot program aimed at expediting the international arrival process. The trial was deemed a success, and talks about e-gates and yada, yada, yada. The automated passport control machines are one of several innovations and programs that governments and airports are introducing to streamline and speed up the entry and exit process. The downside, no more passport stamps. And then in parentheses, if you are worried about biometrics invading your privacy, you can always go the old-fashioned route. Though remember that your passport and boarding pass contain a wealth of personal information. It's just as bad the old way.
Trying so
you should do the new way because it's faster. Quote, your digital ID could become a way to move you through the airport, Flint said. And yada, yada, yada with the e-gates and so on. It's getting pretty blatant. You know, they're really, time is of the essence to get the whole infrastructure up. You know, they got the trials running, but eventually they're just going to have to say, it's just better. We just get paper. It doesn't even matter.
They're just going to say it's just required.
Yeah, paper stuff is
doesn't
old.
matter if you like it or don't like it. This is the only system we have.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, that's all they have to do is just say, nope. We don't even have the old paper system anymore. You're out of luck.
It's like cash. Some places don't take cash anymore. It'll be the same thing. You won't be able to. You go the old-fashioned way. Maybe you and I will be those people. But I got the passport right here, and they're like, "But we don't have your fingerprint." It's like, you don't get my fingerprint. Okay. Anyway, by the way, part of the legal identity for all. So the exact verbiage of SDG 16.9 is by 2030. Provide legal identity for all, including birth registration. And I warned at the time, I was like, this is I expected this to be part of part of the messaging will be eventually as time goes on. Hey, we've got to really completely eliminate child trafficking. It's a problem around the world. And the only way to do that is to provide, number one, provide legal identity for everybody and have some kind of birth registration in our database because otherwise they don't exist, you know? There's a very interesting thing happening there, which leads me to one last story related to this. ABC News, first infant in Kentucky surrendered anonymously at baby box. Have you heard about the baby box?
Yeah, they've had these all over the place for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, this was published on February 11th at 11:11 a.m. Interesting. Bowling Green, Kentucky. Kentucky has seen the first infant anonymously dropped off at one of its baby box safe surrender locations. At a news conference Friday, Safe Haven Baby Box's founder and CEO Monica Kelsey said the child was dropped off within the last 7 days at a Bowling Green Fire Department location, declining to be more specific to protect anonymity. She said fire department staff was able to tend to the child in less than 90 seconds. The child is the 24th in the country to be surrendered at one or more than 130 baby boxes and drawers the organization has established across 9 states. So, you know, this is going to be interesting to see what kind of identification these babies get, because if they're, you know, there's anonymity involved, but also...
they're in the system.
They're just going to be plopped right into the system and marked and numbered and the whole deal. So it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But it does not look like it's going in a good direction. You know, these young people... doing crazy things, Basil. Just to kind of wrap up this segment here, I do want to bring this just because, you know, I need a Japanese nemesis, Basil. I need an enemy to target. You know, I need an adversary in my league.
Why?
You know, in my lane.
Just to feel something?
Just to fight someone.
Oh, okay.
The New York Times.
For honor.
Yeah, New York Times. A Yale professor suggested mass suicide for old people in Japan. What did he mean?
Seems like a bit of a leading question, doesn't it?
You know, first off, this guy, he's Japanese. And the picture of him at the top of this, he's wearing a purplish kind of jacket thing, which, whatever. The jacket is whatever, kind of stylish, whatever. But his glasses one frame is a circle and the other frame is a square. Mm-hmm. So he's I don't know. I don't know what the message is there is other than I'm futury. I'm a
is it
progressive.
Triggering? Is it triggering you? The symmetry, the asymmetry is...
No, I just want to smash his eyeballs because it reminds me of a video game controller. You got the circle and the square, you know?
Oh,
Just start poking at it, you know?
Does kind of have that feel. Yeah, that's funny.
It says here, his pronouncement could hardly sound more drastic. In interviews and public appearances, Yusuke Narita, an assistant professor of economics at Yale, has taken on the question of how to deal with the burdens of Japan's rapidly aging society. Quote, I feel like the only solution is pretty clear, he said during one online news program in late 2021. Quote, in the end, isn't it mass suicide and mass seppuku of the elderly? Seppuku is an act of ritual disembowelment that was a code among dishonored samurai in the 19th century. Last year, when asked by a school-aged boy to elaborate on his mass seppuku theories, Dr. Narita graphically described to a group of assembled students a scene from Midsummer, a 2019 horror film in which a Swedish cult sends one of its oldest members to commit suicide by jumping off a cliff. Quote, whether that's a good thing or not, that's a more difficult question to answer, Dr. Narita told the questioner as he assiduously scribbled notes. Quote, so if you think that's good, then maybe you can work hard toward creating a society like that, end quote. At other times, he had broached the topic of euthanasia. Quote, the possibility of making it mandatory in the future, he said in one interview, will, quote, come up in discussion. Dr. Narita, 37, said that his statement had been, quote, taken out of context, and that he was mainly addressing a growing effort to push the most senior people out of leadership positions in business and politics to make room for younger generations. Nevertheless, his comments on euthanasia and social security, he has pushed the hottest button in Japan. And it goes on here and talks about, just sort of his celebrity being pushed into the spotlight for making his comments. He did say this, quote, I should have been more careful about their potential negative connotations about the seppuku thing and the mass suicide. He added, quote, after some self-reflection, I stopped using the words last year. He stopped using the words.
Don't even use those words.
Some other people talked about how it's irresponsible of him to do that. Masato Fujisaki, a columnist, argued in Newsweek Japan, sticking their head in the international game, that the professor's remarks, quote, should not be easily taken as a metaphor. Dr. Narita's fans, Mr. Fujisaki said, are people, quote, who think that old people should just die already and social welfare should be cut. Despite a culture of deference to older generations, ideas about culling them have surfaced in Japan before, and yada, yada, yada. This is kind of an old trope in Japan. And certainly, generationally, it's been tradition that the young people take care of the elderly. It's sort of an honorable thing to do. That's part of the Japanese culture. But that's sort of gone to the wayside as Japan has gotten more technological and westernized and postmodernized and all that kind of stuff. And now we have all the robots are deployed in the hospitals, the emotional robots, companion robots, I think they were called. We had a story several episodes ago, Flippy Update, that talked about, maybe years ago even, where some of the software was expiring on the robots that were companionship type robots for the Japanese elderly. And so they had to burying them in the backyard and stuff. It was just pretty sad to see. So, I think it's interesting. I think this Dr. Narita guy is a worthy villain. He will haunt my dreams and I will fight him with my dream katana.
Does he put out content? Is he a public figure? I
think he has a book or something, and he's definitely out there. Maybe we can do a debate in Japanese.
Yeah, got to keep an eye out for him.
The book he wrote is being translated into English, of course, now that he's got all kinds of popularity.
Ah, he has a book out.
He does have a book. Of course he does.
Where's your book?
It's being written now.
Yes, of course.
So there you go.
Sounds good. We'll keep an eye on this guy. We'll see if he changes the shapes of either of his eyeball glasses.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
I'll just smash them with my thumbs.
Get some. Maybe you do opposite. If he has a circle and a square, you do square and a circle, or
Or I do
triangle.
Triangle. That'll really trigger everybody.
I don't know. Go the shape of the balloons. You have an octagonal balloon.
I got a cylinder
and
one.
a cylindrical balloon.
Yeah. And one
that'll send a message.
Just a balloon on my eye.
Let him come to you. That's the real key.